So my name is Nick Cardoni. I'm the Director of Operations here at Mudhouse Coffee. Been with Mudhouse for about 5 years.
I am Phil Habas. I am the Director of Roaster and Wholesale Operations for Mudhouse Coffee Roasters.
In 2012, we started roasting our own coffee under the brand Mudhouse Coffee Roasters. We now primarily sell and roast our coffee for our 4 retail stores. In 2016, we became co-owners of a geisha farm in Panama, so we're now growing our own coffee as well.
Yeah, roasting is cool. It's kind of this really weird combination between art and science. The art part of it is kind of seeing what you want to express in the coffee when you first bring it in and try to figure out how to get it there, and the science comes into the way you actually make those changes occur. Both of our roasters are completely computer integrated with a program called Cropster, so we're able to track all of the time and temperature relationships all the way through the process. And every roast we do generates a computer file, and it has the image of the roast saved, and then we can tag into that file our cupping notes and our scores for that coffee. Panama is really exciting. We, this past year, just purchased a coffee farm in Panama.
So the farm in Panama is a big step for us. This is, on one hand, you could look at it as kind of a crazy move for such a small company. On the other hand, it's really the next logical step.
We just went down in September this year to plant the farm. And so in about 4 years, it'll start producing usable fruit. So we're going to be completely vertically integrated for one of our coffees, completely from farm and soil and planting the trees to roasting it and serving it and putting it in the cup for the consumer.
And we have some farm managers down there, the Hartman family that's been farming in Panama for generations. So as always, we're relying on some of the top minds in the field to kind of show us, and we're going into it with beginner's mindset and try to learn as much as we can and get really good at that as well.
This is all an effort that we go into to kind of pay respect, ultimate respect to the producers and the farmers who are working so hard. This is their lifeblood, this is their most prized possession. And so to be trusted with that coffee, we want to be serving it as the highest example and highest expression of what that coffee can be.
Any sort of coffee empire, whether that's Charlottesville or beyond, there's always going to be pros and cons to either. And one thing that's pretty important to point out for any specialty coffee shop, which is what we deal in, specialty coffee has to do really with the quality of the beans that we're sourcing at origin. Specialty coffee is free of a certain number of defects and harvested by hand, and scores very highly when rated among people who cup and can taste and are well calibrated to determine what a high quality coffee is. So that resonates across the industry. And even small shops today in Charlottesville and anywhere in America would not be really where they are, wouldn't be situated where they are in terms of being able to connect with and engage with the public if it weren't for companies who really went out there and blanketed the countryside with locations. Companies such as Starbucks did a lot for us, and we have to tip our hat to companies like that and acknowledge that many of our customers would not know what a latte is if it weren't for a company like Starbucks. And they have a great model in terms of consistency and presentation. You can walk into any shop in America and you pretty much know what you're going to get, and a lot of people love that. And flip side, a lot of people are turned off by that similarity from shop to shop. And so independent coffee shops have some advantages there. We can be a lot more nimble. If we want to change something about our menu, our operations, we can do that.
The coffee empire as a whole and coffee businesses, I think, are really important. There's companies like Starbucks that without them, I wouldn't be doing this every day. They really kind of paved the way for a lot of what we do in specialty coffee in terms of forcing people to look at coffee as more than just like a generic product and making them start thinking of it as something that can have value added through its roasting or value added through its processing or the way it's grown.
Authenticity is a tough subject to speak on. I think the first thing that comes to mind is transparency and accessibility. And one of the ways in which we are an authentic and transparent company is we are working harder and harder to create a direct connection between customers coming in for coffee and for baristas to the farmer, to the process of what's actually going on, where coffee actually comes from. I think a lot of us grow up drinking coffee, seeing it around, and not really knowing that it's the roasted, dried seed of a tropical fruit. We refer to coffee seeds as beans, but they're not actually beans. Not a lot of people know that. So some basic education is going to go a long way towards transparency. Where does coffee actually come from? What are the conditions like in the regions in which coffee is grown? What can we do to change that?
I think it goes back into trying to tell the story of origin in coffee for me. And that's something we do on the retail side of things by offering as much detail as we can about the coffee and pictures of the farm and stories from the farmer and telling them about the family and the area and that sort of thing.
So in terms of being authentic, we share a lot of what's going on at Origin, and we're happy to do so, and we're happy to be educators, and we want people to know that we invest a lot in our baristas as well. We don't want them to think of the people that they interact with as just quote-unquote people behind the counter. We have a pretty rigorous training and testing procedure to get people on counter, and that makes every single staff member that much more invested in what we're doing, so that they can truly serve as ambassadors, not just of our brand and what we're trying to do. And from a sales perspective, that's not as exciting as them actually being ambassadors of the specialty coffee industry at large, which is much more exciting. They have the honor and the responsibility of standing in that moment where they get to present the finished product, and they get to see the enjoyment on someone's face when that happens, but then they also have the responsibility to do service to the roaster and suppliers and growers and everybody in the chain, so that we let the coffee really tell its story.
I think we define authenticity and we define the identity of coffee in Appalachia as a common ground. Coffee is something that many Americans consume every day, and they might do it in different ways. And we have people on one end of the spectrum who really geek out and are brewing coffee in a vacuum siphon pot every morning, and then we have people on the other side who just want to go into their gas station or go into their kitchen and brew up a pot of coffee, And coffee at the end of the day is a ritual, and so there's not really a wrong way to consume it, in my opinion. However you enjoy it is exactly how you should be doing it.